There was a women's march in D.C. on Saturday. Can I put women's march in quotes?
Yeah, put that in
This,
quotes because just like Black Lives Matter, it should be in quotes because it's not really about women, and Black Lives Matter is not really about Black lives.
but they speaking for all women. They
Yeah.
protested. They were protesting Amy Coney Barrett, and there was a woman there. I guess not the right kind of woman. Who had a Trump. Her name is Isabella Maria DeLuca, I think. She had a big Trump flag, and she was there, and she ended up getting assaulted. Someone punched and choked her. Allegedly, there's not video of it, but she did go to the hospital. She was hospitalized afterwards and treated with a cervical collar due to her neck injuries and her head injuries. So something
It
clearly
turns
happened.
out, so I shared that photo. Actually, can we put it up so anybody who hasn't seen it
You
can
want to see the photo
see?
of her? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually shared that photo not realizing I'm Facebook friends with her mother. Her
Oh,
mother
really?
replied, yeah, and said that's my daughter.
Oh, wow.
And it just hit home to me what a small world it is and how few degrees of separation there are between any of us and this kind of violence, which is becoming increasingly more common. But yeah,
Yep.
even though you didn't use his Phillips photo for the graphic today, I'd also like to show it because it's very, people need to see, I think, what's
Okay.
happening out there.
Okay.
This is Philip Anderson.
Well, hold on. Before we
And
show the
Philip,
Phillips one, can we
yeah,
just? I just wanted to show you. This is what she
yeah.
looks like normally. I just, I feel bad showing like here's her beat up. This is her normally at the rally with her flag. Um, do I have a Philip one? I think I. Oh, actually, I do have one of him. But interestingly enough, can you tell the story of the protest first before I show the photo? Because um, I think, yeah, here's him getting hit. An interesting thing happened. I noticed that I want to say something about. So you want to tell the
Well, you tell it because
okay.
I have some dogs barking in the background here.
Okay. Uh, Basically, there was just a rally in San Francisco, and this guy, Philip Anderson, who happens to be black, by the way, I think he's black. He looks black. Was just out of nowhere punched in the face. Now he was with Team Save America. What they were protesting, and actually this is why I had this article queued up because it's worth looking at. What they were protesting, I mean, I guess you could call it a pro-Trump rally. They said it's a pro-Trump thing, but they were here um, protesting big tech, a rally to promote free speech and denounce big tech censorship. They were here in San Francisco to protest Twitter censorship, for example. And they were at the UN Plaza. And guys like this from Antifa or associated with Antifa, I mean, I think there were a few dozen people here in San Francisco protesting big tech and only that, but like hundreds of counter protesters. So they were, if you protest in downtown San Francisco in any kind of pro-Trump way, you are massively outnumbered. So they were massively outnumbered. People showed up. Beat people up. That guy got hurt. And let me see if I can find. I don't even have the Philip Anderson picture, but I can find it. I'll
I
pull it.
just sent it to you. I don't know if it's easy to get it from that or not,
That's
but
fine. I can just
um,
search for it just for a moment.
yeah. So they punched him in the face. Antifa punched him in the face and knocked his teeth. They permanently took his teeth out permanently. And and as you mentioned, the reason why these two stories, I shared them side by side, that just the images, because a couple of things struck me about this. One is that these are both members of groups, of identity groups, of so-called marginalized groups that the left claims to speak for. And what we've seen time and again, if you're actually paying attention and you're watching the riots, the protests, if you're watching how the social justice left interacts with people and the tactics that they use, they don't actually care about the stuff they say they care about. They're liars. Not only if you're a black person who doesn't agree with social justice ideology, or if you're a woman who doesn't agree with social justice ideology, or if you're a gay person who doesn't agree with it, they show you what they really believe. And it's not, hey, shut up and listen to black voices like Philip Anderson's, or shut up and listen to women, and believe all women. It's none of the stuff they say is true. They not only silence you and give edicts on why you shouldn't be listened to, and they use racial slurs against you, they use sexist slurs against you, homophobic slurs. They will attack you like BLM attacked our friend Mike Harlow and Brandon Strock from Walkaway, who are both gay. They called them homophobic slurs while they were physically assaulting them. They assaulted, it was Antifa who assaulted Philip. It was the Women's March people who assaulted the woman we started with on the
And
show.
they called him the N-word too, just to be clear about their racism.
Yeah, they called him the N-word. They will use racist and sexist slurs. They are racist and sexist people. And their ideology has made them that way. Maybe that they were that way originally, and that's why this ideology appeals to them. But even if they're not, it's going to turn them into people who behave in racist and sexist and homophobic ways. It comes out. And I just wanted to point that out because there's a couple things this made me think of. Their names are not going to be repeated in the legacy media. You're not going to see these stories cherry picked, and there's tons of them. These are just two that happened over the weekend, but you're not going to see these stories plastered on the legacy media 24/7 and being used to push a false narrative that's being drummed into our heads, so much so that casual consumers of the news now believe it. Right? They've pushed this false narrative about.
Yep.
About black people and police. That's not true. You can look at the statistics and the evidence. It's not true, but people believe it as fact now because the media tells them this constantly. Well, they're not going to do that with these guys. Nobody's going to casually from the media come away with the idea that, hey, leftists are attacking people and using racist and sexist slurs and assaulting them physically. And you're not gonna pick up that story. Their names will not be painted on cars like some social justice virtue signaler here in my town painted all of these names of people who were supposedly targeted for their race by police on his car, and has been sharing tons of photos. Look at my car. Look at all the names. Look at what a good virtue signaler I am. Nobody's going to paint their names on a car.
There's a street near me where people have put up signs, like you drive down the street and like every few feet is another sign of someone. And I was thinking, what if I just start interspersing it with names of people who were victimized that they don't want to talk about? And see if anyone noticed, because I don't know half the names. They just they're adding names all the time, right?
All the time. David Dorn. Nobody's going to put David Dorn's name on their car. David Dorn is a guy who was killed during the riots when he was defending a business. He's a black guy. They don't care. Yeah. They're not going to put his name anywhere. And so this isn't going to become it's never going to be featured on the news 24/7. It's never going to be cherry picked to push a false narrative. Nobody's going to start rioting and burning down businesses and murdering people and using these people's names as justification. That's not going to happen. Major corporations are not going to start changing their policies and pushing belief systems on you by using these people's names as justification based on a false narrative. None of the stuff that we've seen happen over the past 4 months is going to happen with these people. And in fact, it's the opposite. They're going to ignore these stories. They're going to pretend like it's not happening. And Joe Biden is not going to get questioned in a debate or by news media or otherwise. Joe Biden is not going to be repeatedly asked to denounce the Women's March and BLM and Antifa. That's not going to happen. And if he were to be asked, he would say what he's already said, that this is just an idea. Well, this idea took Philip Anderson's teeth out. He's not going to be asked to denounce it. If he were, and if let's say he did, let's say he grew a pair of balls and he said, hey, this is terrorism and this is unacceptable and this is violence, and I'm going to call out my own side, which is what we should all be doing. And people on the left need to stand down, and they need to stop the initiation of force. This is not liberalism. This is tyranny. Stop it. This is extremism. If he were to say that, which he's not going to do, then the media would not do what they've done with Trump. They would not pretend that he never said that. and repeatedly ask him the question over and over and over.
Oh,
You
I
know?
think he would. I mean, it's too late for him to lose the nomination, but if he was the kind of person that stood up and said that, he would never have gotten the nomination for the Democratic
No, he
Party.
wouldn't. He's a coward.
Yeah.